What if I told you that you probably have cash lying around your house right now, and I'm not talking about in your coat pocket or down the side of the sofa. I'm talking about serious money in the form of empty jars, old toilet roll tubes, and your childhood toys. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Tom here again from Save the Student, and today I'm going to show you 14 surprising things you can sell right now to make easy money, including top tips for each one on what buyers are looking for and how to make the most cash. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe for all the best money tips. So you might have heard stories before about rare Pokemon cards or Beanie Babies getting sold for thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of pounds. And that definitely can happen, but even if you don't quite have the super rare one that will make you a load of money, you might still have something that can make you a decent amount. So this guide on our site goes through some of the most common valuable toys that you might have, and it's not just Beanie Babies and Pokemon cards. There's also Furbies, Lego, Happy Meal toys, Harry Potter books, old games consoles, Barbie dolls, and loads more. And for each one, we've gone through some of the specific types or models that sell for the most money. No matter what it is that you're selling, you're obviously aiming to have something in good condition, ideally limited edition or even still in the box. But to be honest, depending on what it is, even a slightly scruffy toy could still fetch a few quid. So if you want to get a rough idea of what your stuff is worth, eBay is always the best shout. And a top tip, if you filter your search by sold items only, you'll see how much things have actually sold for rather than just what people have listed them for. Now, obviously you can do this for any of the items that we're going to talk about in this video. But once you know what things are selling for, think about listing it for a price slightly above this so that if people want to put in a lower offer, you're still getting full value for it. Now look, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because obviously you already know that you can sell your old clothes to make money, but this is just a quick heads up to have a think about what sells well. So branded clothes, vintage wear, anything with a popular label like Nike, North Face, whatever, these things all tend to do really well, and some can even go for well over £100. But also have a think about any old clothes that you or a relative might have that have maybe come around again. So like right now, late 90s, early naughty stuff is kind of having a bit of a moment again. So if you do have any lying around that you don't want, it might be time to sell it. Won't surprise you to learn that Vinted and Depop are your go-to places to sell for this, but especially Vinted because there are no fees for what you sell. But there are a few other apps and websites that you might want to try, and we list all the best ones in this guide. Just make sure that whatever you're selling is clean and looks good in photos, so iron them if you need to and use good lighting if you can. And as with all of these things, try to go for as descriptive a title as possible. So rather than just saying hoodie, go for something like oversized Nike hoodie, size L, great condition. Oh, and by the way, for any of the things that we're going to go through in this video, if you want us to do a whole separate one about how to sell them and our top tips too, just let me know in the comments. So this is the first of some of the more weird ones on this list, but yes, you really can sell coat hangers. And actually, it's not even that weird when you think about it, because we all need coat hangers, so why wouldn't someone want to buy them for slightly less, the same as anything else? So wooden hangers and matching sets are the ones that will pick up the most money, and you can see here, even a single wooden hanger has sold for £15, albeit a more niche one. And then a set of 5 plastic M&S ones have sold for £4.36, so not far off £1 per hanger. I'd say eBay and Facebook Marketplace are probably the best shout for this. And when you're listing your hangers, make sure to mention how many there are, what their material is, and if you've used them, if there are any marks or scuffs. Another weird one, but yeah, apparently people want to buy old wine corks for DIY projects, arts and crafts, wedding decorations, and whatever else. Now, I won't lie, you're not going to become a millionaire from this, so if we look at the sold items on eBay, which is probably your best bet for selling wine corks, then it's roughly about £1 for every 10 corks. You'll get about £5 for 50 and £10 for 100. Branded corks tend to do a little bit better, and people also seem to sell champagne corks and natural wine corks separately. So if you have any of those lying around, keep them to one side. Now look, I'm obviously not recommending that you start drinking more, not least because if you do this, you're probably not going to make a profit on the cost of the wine. But if you or anyone else that you live with do already drink wine, then make sure to save the corks in a clean jar. And once you've got a decent amount, make sure to list it on eBay with keywords in the title like arts and crafts, DIY corks, wedding decorations, all to make sure that people can find them. This one might be slightly trickier if you live in rented accommodation, but even so, I would say it's absolutely worth looking into because renting out the parking space on your home could earn you hundreds of pounds each month. The key to earning the big bucks here is if you live in an area where parking is maybe a little bit limited, so maybe near a football ground, near a music venue, maybe near the city centre, or if you live near a transport hub where people might want to drive there and then leave their car there for a day or maybe even more, so like a train station or an airport. As I say, it is a little bit bit more complicated if you rent and don't own your home because it basically overlaps with subletting, which you might not have the right to do. So definitely check your tenancy agreement, and if you need to, check with your landlord or your letting agent too. But if you've been given the green light, then you can list your space on places like Just Park or Your Parking Space. Now, the amount that you can earn will vary depending on the demand in your area, but in busier places, you could make 100, maybe even £200 a month pretty easily. Although it's obviously worth looking at what other people in your area are charging before listing yours. And for more tips on this, plus loads more apps and websites for listing your parking space, check out this guide, which we've linked to along with all of the other guides in the description below. This one honestly blows my mind a little bit, and a bit like the wine corks, you're obviously not going to be able to make a living off selling old toilet roll tubes. But ultimately, it is extra money that you wouldn't have got if you just chucked them in the recycling, so it is definitely worth saving them up. So it turns out that people want to buy them for arts and crafts projects, for seed planting, and even for their pets, so maybe a gerbil or a hamster that will use it as a tunnel. How much people pay does vary a little bit, but it does seem that very roughly, you're looking at about £1 for every 10 empty rolls. So if you live with other people, you might find that you can get to a few dozen rolls pretty quickly, and then obviously you can use empty kitchen roll tubes too. This guide on our site has all the tips you need, but very quickly, eBay is definitely the place to sell for this. And you'll want to make sure that they're clean, so no little bits of paper left on, and they haven't been squashed, because you can see in all of these pictures, the rolls are still round. And then in the listing, make sure you're using those all important keywords like craft, garden, eco, and so on. Now, if you're anything like me, then you'll have at least one old phone lying around just in case yours gets broken or stolen. And look, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad idea to have a backup, but if you have any other phones that you don't need, then that could be 50 or even 100 quid waiting for you to claim it. And in fact, even if your old phone is broken, you could still get a few quid for the parts. As I'm sure you know, there are loads of sites that will buy your old phones, as well as obviously your option of just selling it directly to somebody else. But if you do want to get the best price, then I'd recommend trying a site like Sell My Mobile, where it compares loads of these other websites for you. And you can see straight away the range of prices for my old Galaxy S9 varies massively. So again, we have a guide that goes through everything you need to know to make the most money. But one thing I really want to emphasize is to make sure you've wiped your old phone so nobody can access things like your banking apps, your old pictures, your personal data, or anything else. And another reminder, not just to chuck things away, because it turns out the empty boxes for things that you've bought, especially more expensive gadgets, are actually something that people want to buy. So some people buying these boxes might be collectors, but other people might be selling that gadget but don't have the box, and they're happy to pay a few quid for yours because it will add much more to the overall value of what they're selling. So if we take an empty PS5 box as an example, you can see people have successfully sold them for about 15 or 20 pounds, and some iPhone boxes are going for about 5 to 10 quid. You just need to be super clear in the title to say box only, so people don't accidentally buy it thinking they've got themselves a bargain. And it might help to take a picture of the box open just so it is really, really obvious. And actually, it's not even just the empty box you can make money from, because it turns out some people are even interested in buying the instruction manuals too. Now, quite often these days, you can actually find instruction manuals on a company's website, but not always, and especially with more niche or older things, you might find that collectors are looking to buy it just because they want the complete product. Like you can see this person got £4 for an old digital camera handbook, and just looking at these results, you can see a lot of people are selling manuals for old computer games and Lego sets too. So if you do have any instruction manuals lying around that you never use and don't need, take a look on eBay and see if there's a market for them. Now again, I appreciate after the wine corks, the toilet roll tubes, the empty boxes, I am basically telling you to empty your recycling box here, but you can even sell your empty glass jars too. So branded or more unusual jars are usually more popular, so maybe a Kilner jar or Bon Maman, which are the ones with the red gingham lids. And as with a lot of these things, they're popular with people doing arts and crafts, but also people who are making their own jams and spreads, or who just want some extra storage in the kitchen. So again, eBay, but also Facebook Marketplace are where you want to go for this kind of thing. And looking at these listings, you can see Bon Maman jars especially are selling for just under or around £1 a go, but others are looking at more like 50p. And to be honest, again, that's easy money for another thing that you would have just thrown away. Just make sure that your jars are clean with the label removed and mention if the lid is included. And as always, get those keywords like arts and crafts or even the brand name into the listing. Back to your old tech for a sec, and if you have any old remotes lying around, then this could be some easy money, especially if what it's for has been discontinued. But actually, that said, remotes for current products can sell well too, like these Sky remotes that are selling from anything from £5 to over 20 quid. Now, it's pretty hard to say exactly how much you'll make because it really will depend on what the remote you're selling is for, but it is definitely worth taking a look on eBay to see if people are interested. And when it comes to making the listing, make sure you clean the remote, test if it's still working if you possibly can, and include the model number in the listing title so that the right people find it. And one last one on tech, which I kind of alluded to with old phones, which is that whatever you have, even if it's broken, you can still make money from it. So you're basically looking at two markets here, which is people who want to repair it, maybe as a hobby, and people who are looking for spare parts. And depending on what it is and the condition that it's in, you could still get a big chunk of money back on what you originally paid. Like these broken iPads, for example, some of them sold for more than £100, and even the older ones were still picking up 20 quid or more. Now, obviously, what you get will depend on what it is you're selling, but this is such an easy way to make money that people usually ignore. And the key is to include the phrase spares and repairs in the listing title, because that is what people are searching for. And also to be as honest and as specific as possible about what the issues are. So rather than just saying it's broken, say something like it turns on, but the screen doesn't work properly. And also make sure you take pictures of any cracks and scratches. It's time to trawl through your recycling bin again, because there is a market for empty perfume bottles too. So I won't lie, the big money here is usually for premium brands or bottles that are maybe a little bit more unique. And bottles for slightly cheaper scents only tend to sell as part of a bigger assortment. But if you do have a more premium one, you could be looking at £10, £20, maybe even more. Again, looking to eBay as the place to sell. And as for top tips, well, make sure the bottle is empty and clean it if you can. And then include the brand and the type in the title, as well as the size of the bottle, so 100ml or whatever it is. And last, but definitely not least, it is time to sell all of those beauty samples that you've accumulated over the years and never used. Like, I'm sure we've all got a drawer full of them, whether they came free in an ASOS order, they were given out in Boots, or maybe you just ordered some through one of the beauty sample deals that we feature on the site every now and again. Anyway, you can see on eBay, people love to bundle them up and sell them in big batches with mini moisturizers, serums, perfumes, and whatever else. And you tend to be looking at £5 to £10, usually with at least 10 items included. And the key is to include the phrase job lot in the title, because that seems to be what people are searching for. So yeah, turns out there is a lot of spare cash lying around your house, especially in your recycling bin, and we have loads more things that you can make money from selling right now in this guide. If you have found this video useful, please do give it a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you've sold, because I'd love to know the weirdest thing you've dug out from around the house and managed to make some money from. So good luck selling, and I'll see you next time with even more ways to make and save money.